President Dennis, Rotarians, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to your conference. I joined the WI in 1970, so I haven't always been this old and a WI member. Truth be known, I didn't even know what the WI was about. All I knew was I was at home with a baby, I had been working full-time, and I needed to get out and about and meet new people and have some me time. Well, me time actually has now become full-time, although I have now retired, so it's not quite so bad. My life changed from being a ward sister to a full-time mum and housewife, and I needed to meet this challenge. Being from up north, I'm a glass half full sort of person, and I embraced the WI by saying yes at the very beginning. And by the end of the first year, I was the president, and I hadn't even been on the committee. So I've continued to say yes, which is probably why I'm standing here today. You know, it's almost impossible to compare Rotary with the WI, but there are some similarities. Both organizations started on the other side of the Atlantic, Rotary in Chicago, Illinois in 1905, and the WI in 1897 in Ontario, Canada. As you know, Paul Harris was a man of vision. He brought together professionals with diverse backgrounds so that they could exchange ideas, form lifelong friendships, and give back to their communities. So the first question you would probably ask is, why was the WI started? The first WI was founded by Adelaide Houdoulis in Ontario, Canada in 1897. And similar organizations were formed in Belgium and Ireland in the early 1900s. Several years before the first WI was formed in Llanfair PD, and I apologize to the Welsh contingent that I can't say that word that ends in go-go-gov, and that was in September 1915. This was followed 2 months later by the first WI in England, in Singleton and West Sussex. And the meeting was held in the pub called the Fox Runs Free. Now, everybody says, oh, it's new, we've got a new WI, they're meeting in a pub. But remember, the first one met in a pub. And both the WI and the pub are still doing well. Adelaide Houdoulis was born in 1857, the 10th child of a family, and her father died months before she was born. So as the youngest one of a one-parent family, education for a girl was especially minimal. And in 1881, she married John Houdoulis, who came from a prosperous family in Ontario, Hamilton, Ontario. And in 1889, her youngest son died, aged 14 months. It was said from gastroenteritis caused by contaminated milk. Now, Adelaide was determined to stop other mothers from suffering the same tragedy and realized that the best weapon she could use to combat this was education. But it took a determined woman from Canada and a world war to get the WI started here. After her husband died, Madge Watt, who had been a member in Canada, brought her sons to England to finish their education, and on arrival she stayed in Wales. Now, she desperately wanted to start the WI movement, but her challenge, and the challenge is still, and always has been, about bringing about change. In 1915, most of the male population had gone to war, and it was the challenge of the women left to help the war effort by doing what they could do to produce food that was what brought about the change. An ideal way of getting women involved and organized and working together in their communities. Now, from the beginning, membership increased rapidly, and by the end of 1917, there were over 5,000 members. By 1925, 205,000 members. By 1927, 250,000 members. And just before the Second World War, there were nearly 400,000 members. Now, as I mentioned, the WI members worked together during the First World War to get food out and about and that was rotting in the fields. And with this expertise behind them, during the Second World War, the government gave them £1,400 money worth of sugar to the WI, and they imported preserving pans and canning machines from America so that the WI members could produce food. And it is said that almost 2,000 tons of fruit and veg were cooked and bottled and canned in 1940. So I'd like to think that the WI fed the nation. Although jam may be the first thing that most people think about when asked about the WI, we actually have a very diverse membership, and we can offer all kinds of opportunities for all kinds of women. The WI plays a unique role in providing women with educational opportunities and chances to build new skills and to take part in a wide variety of activities and to campaign on issues that matter to them and their communities. Most people are aware that the WI can provide opportunities to learn craft, floral art, gardening, cookery skills, and also we have sport and leisure activities, science groups, personal development and public speaking courses. Now in 1926, long before Jamie Oliver was born, the WI was campaigning for school dinners. In 1943, for equal pay for women. In 1954, resolution against litter leading to Keep Britain Tidy. And I, as national chair, and there's not a photo on here, had the pleasure of meeting the Wombles on Wimbledon Common. My grandchildren didn't know who the Wombles were, but my children wanted to know which mum would I met. Was it Uncle Bulgaria or Madame Cholet? And they were all there. So the anti-litter campaign carries on. In 1980, we campaigned against HIV and AIDS. And more recently, raise awareness on the nature and extent of violence against women, legal aid, research into the dramatic decline of the honeybee, employment of midwives, closure of libraries, and organ donation. And in 2008, we campaigned on the inappropriate imprisonment of severely mentally ill people, which started, of course, the formation of the first WI in a women's prison. In 2016, we were avoiding food waste and caring for patients with dementia. In 2017, microfibers, plastic soup, and alleviating loneliness. And these that I noticed, because I did read it, are reflected in the State of the Nation survey that Rotary did. WI membership reached an all-time high in the 50s with 500,000 members. But in the 80s and 90s, numbers fell dramatically. Maybe due to the way women's lives had changed. They had better educated, they had more freedom, they had opportunities to express themselves. So by 2000, the WI needed a plan. We needed to know who our members were. So in 2003, we set up the membership database. Previously, WIs knew who the members were. The federations knew who their officers were in the WIs, and that was all we knew. So we didn't actually know who they all were. So that was the start. We also needed a better communication between NFWI and the members. So in 2007, we introduced WI Life, a membership magazine as part of the subscriptions, 8 issues a year delivered to members' homes. I think one of the best communication tools we've ever had. We, and by we I mean the National Federation of Women's Institute, wanted to inspire and inform. And for this, we needed consistent, effective, manageable messaging. We reviewed managing membership inquiries. They had to be more effective because a lot of them seemed to be falling into a big black hole. We needed to set key messages which were consistent and effective and easy to remember. And we reviewed our promotional material and set about a series of regional meetings. The key messages help us to be more consistent how we talk about the WI. I mean, one of the things I find is that sometimes I'm in a lift and I meet a whole load of people, or mostly men, sometimes Rotarians, and so what's the WI about? So these three key messages, I think, just say what the WI is about. The WI is about inspiring women. It's a rich sort of experience and knowledge, and they are passed down through the generations and updated regularly. The WI is here to inspire you. The WI is naturally diverse. It offers all kinds of opportunities for all kinds of women. The WI is everything that you want it to be. And the WI comes in all shapes and sizes, and we offer the women the opportunity to join and be involved in whatever way suits them. So the WI is what you make of it. We tried hard to try and close the gap between the NFWI board and the members by taking to the road with Inspiring Women Working Together conferences, because I don't know whether it happens in Rotary, but it certainly happens in the WI when the members talk about them up there at National. And because they think them up there at National are different for some reason. But we wanted to show them that the members of the National Board were WI members like themselves. They went to their own WIs, they made the tea, they put out the chairs, they put the chairs away, and they did the washing up. They were ordinary members like themselves. But of course, this only reached current members. So we set up what we call the Centenary Grant Scheme for the 3 years up to 2015, which was the centenary year, where WI federations could apply for funding for the promotional activities for up to £2,000. Now, some federations were struggling financially, and extra funding gave them the incentive to get out there and promote the WI and the membership, and they did. They advertised on buses, on cricket grounds, attended festivals, including a balloon festival. They went to rock concerts, local markets, and generally made sure that they had a very positive presence in their county. Facebook, of course, as we all know, has made a huge difference to the way anything's promoted, including the WI. It used to be a poster on the village hall, leaflets through doors, membership adverts in newspapers, word of mouth, and a WI advisor who would help them organise their WI would turn up at a village hall, and if she was lucky, 2 men and a dog, if she was, sometimes 10 to 15 people would turn up. But now, of course, what happens is, if 3 or 4 women want to form a WI, they actually go to the NFWI website, research how to go about forming a WI, contact the Federation office for help, find a venue and a date, and advertise on social media. And 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 women might come along. I think the largest number we ever had that turned up was 300, and that was scary. Because we have got one WI in Essex that actually meets in Chelmsford Cathedral, which has currently got 250 members. That's a lot of people to manage. But now, you see, the potential members come to us, and we support them in the formation of the WI, their WI, because each WI is autonomous. Most of them come with the idea of what they want, and the Federation advisors help them by helping them with the constitution and giving them advice and keeping them within the bounds of what the WI is. You need a fair amount of pink elastic, and this is required because of the flexibility, but as long as they don't break the rules, then that is fine. WIs are being formed in towns and villages, workplaces, fire stations, supermarkets, county council offices, universities. As you probably know, we've got 5 WIs in women's prisons. We try to keep on top of everything with current trends on the website, which is regularly updated. We have a WI Moodle, which is an online resource for training, and we launched last June the My WI, which is an online service to members. So if you've got an email address, you can get on and you can find out how to run your WI, how to put forward a resolution, where to find a public speaking courses, craft projects, we have how-to videos, how to make the perfect short crust pastry, how to make a Victoria sponge. You know, change is inevitable, and the challenge is actually managing it. But for me, there are three things that stand out for both our organisations. One is the diversity of our membership, the friendship and fun of being part of the whole, that is another thing, and the community spirit, helping each other and others. Now, in 2018, women living in towns where many of the new WIs are being formed, they can be as isolated and lonely as those women who were living in rural areas in 1915. They like learning new skills, they have fun, form friendships, local communities and activities, and it is an essential part of the WI now as it was in 1915. Last year we had just over 25,000 new members and formed 90 new WIs. And this year so far we have formed 51 WIs and nearly 11,000 new members. For a subscription of £41 for a year, that's the 2018 subscription, I think it's great value for money, because for this they get 11 meetings a year, and it includes the Federation and national fees. I know the question often is, so how many WIs do you suspend? Now, yes, some WIs do close. A few of those members join other WIs, but I think that's progression. I think that's the way it's got to be, because not everybody wants to join an established WI. Young women want to do things their own way. I think the young women of the age I was when I joined the WI are far more feisty and outgoing and opinionated than I ever was. I've just grown to be like this. The challenge is retention as well as recruitment. Working on making sure the members are getting what they want, as well as keeping the long-standing members happy. So I'm sorry I don't have a definite answer to the question, how do we increase membership? Change is the main challenge for both our organisations. Social media could be the key. Communication is essential. But I can't leave without a quick mention of Tony Blair and his appearance at the 2000 annual meeting, the members of Rylstone WI, better known as the Calendar Girls. The calendar was mentioned previously. I have got a calendar at home of the Rotarians. I think it was from Peterborough WI that tried to do what the Calendar Girls did. I'm going to keep it and bring it out sometime to embarrass somebody. I'm not quite sure who yet. And of course, you've got one of our WI members coming tomorrow. Princess Anne is an associate member. And who can forget the president of Sandringham WI, Her Majesty the Queen, cutting, or trying to cut the cake, at the centenary annual meeting in 2015. I shall never forget the moment that I walked onto the stage at the Albert Hall with the Queen, and complete silence, then 5,000 members stood up and clapped. And the hairs on the back of my neck still stand up when I think about it. But, you know, she's a good member. She goes to her WI in January and she chairs the meeting. So, you know, what more could we ask for? Publicity, that picture went all over the world. So there we are. Thank you very much for listening to me. I do like talking about the WI. It's always a pleasure. So thank you very much.